Hello, everybody. It's me, Kermit the Grog, or I guess I'm Pajama Sam right now. Yeah. I'm gonna take this mask off because I made it last minute, and oh boy, does it poke my eyes and I can't see. Um, Hello, welcome back to. Oh shoot.
I love oh shoot.
I love it. Putt Putt Saves the Con, a Humongous Entertainment retrospective by me, Kermit the Grog. So Humongous Entertainment, for those not in the know. No, not gonna. Is it on? It's
Turn
not.
it on.
It's not on, everybody. It's good times now. We go forward.
Friendkaikon.
Welcome to We Don't Know What We're Doing Con. It's me. It's me.
It's Soviet Russia.
It's me. It is me, Pajama Samuel. Okay, no, back on track. I'm Kermit the Grog. This is Putt Putt Saves the Con, a Humongous Entertainment retrospective. Now, that's not on. This is just a never-ending stream. So, if you don't know what... Nope, because then I click back like a dum-dum.
It happens. You can use the arrows.
I know, because I need to be able to scroll on that. So, if you don't know what Humongous Entertainment is, they were a video game company back in the 90s that was most well known for making children's point-and-click adventure games. I grew up on them. Here's a picture of me opening up one of their games, Pajama Sam 2, I'm assuming for Christmas. And you can clearly see, like, I'm just super hyped. Like, I specifically went through old scrapbooks because I was like, there's got to be a picture. Like, I lived and died by these games. I loved them. I played the ones that I had to death. I was always like, I want to play the ones I don't have. Like, I loved it. Now, Humongous Entertainment was a company that made entertainment games for children that were educational, but they were not classically known edutainment. Now, like, this isn't like a Math Blasters or something like that where it's like, I'm doing math and it's kind of fun, or like your math workshops. Like, it was very specifically entertainment, and like that's part of how it got its name. It was specifically like they were very clear that it's like, we don't want to make edutainment games, we want to make entertainment games. So they put in the name Humongous Entertainment. Now, Humongous Entertainment itself was founded in 1992 in Washington State by Ron Gilbert and Shelley Day. We're going to talk about them later. It's really important. They've won countless awards. They made some really good stuff, which is why we're talking about it today. And they sadly don't exist anymore. They went defunct around 2006, but we'll get into it. It's kind of not great. So, like I said, speaking of later, before we get into meeting all these wonderful, charming, fun characters that we either remember or I'll be introducing you to the first time, we have to make like Putt Putt and travel back in time. But we're not going back to like cowboy times or Elizabethan times. We're going to the 80s. So pull out your giant cell phones. They're really big, and let's get going because we're going to talk about a company called LucasArts.
Yay.
Founded in 1982 by this guy. You know, George Lucas. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He made a little indie movie called Howard the Duck. No, I'm joking, of course. If you live under a rock, George Lucas is the original creator of Star Wars, and I don't know what kind of rock you have to live under to not know what that is. So think about this. It's the 1980s, dude's freaking showered in money right now, and is really excited about technology. So he starts LucasArts to make PC games, to get on that cutting edge of things. Now, when that company was founded, he made it really clear he didn't want the company to just make Star Wars games. That company was created to specifically make new characters in new stories. And they did that. They made some really long-lasting, wonderful, beloved characters. In the era that we're particularly talking about, they made Maniac Mansion, Loom, another really important one we're going to be talking about shortly. Moving forward from that, they made Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max, Full Throttle, like a lot of really classic point-and-click adventure games. Now, at the 80s, though, when this was opening, one of the biggest point-and-click entertainment companies was Sierra Entertainment. They were known for stuff like King's Quest and Space Quest and Leisure Suit Larry. You can see kind of very more primitive graphics, usually a textual interface of like typing things in, how you're interacting with. And they were also known for being brutally unforgiving. You could very easily get yourself stuck in states that you could not win the game. It was very easy to die. And just screw yourself over out of hours of progress. And part of that was kind of its charm, that all these comical ways that you could just end your life, and there's usually a little funny quip. Now, LucasArts tried not to do that. And one of the most famous importance is going to be important to our story a little bit later. But now what ties all these LucasArts games together in Humongous Entertainment is the Scum engine. And I promise you this is important. So the Scum engine, or also known as the script creation utility of Maniac Mansion, I wonder what game that's for, was written by our boy from earlier that helped found Humongous, Ron Gilbert, to help write it was like an engine to help write that game and to put it together. And that engine was then used on future point-and-click games. That whole list of characters from LucasArts I was showing you, all of those are written in the Scum engine. Admittedly, this is the logo for Scum VM, which is the current virtual machine for emulating it, but I digress. So one of those games that ran on the Scum engine that's very important to our story is this one. Secret of Monkey Island. Oh, there you go. Created and designed by Ron Gilbert, our boy. This freaking murders Ron Gilbert, Dave Grosson, and Tim Schafer. Three very well-known, I guess Ron Gilbert's still well-known, game developers of our current era, even.
People know Ron Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's most important to our story.
He was at Double Fine for a few years there.
Yep. So we are talking about, of course, The Secret of Monkey Island, released in 1990, a comedy point-and-click adventure game. Following the swashbuckling, rubber chicken with a pulley in it collecting seller of fine leather jackets, Guybrush Threepwood, and his quest to become a pirate. Now, one of the major changes to Monkey Island made to the point-and-click formula that I was talking about is that there weren't any real death states. You couldn't screw yourself out of beating the game. Was it difficult? It was a point-and-click adventure game in the 80s and the 90s. There's a lot of convoluted things involved, but you couldn't get yourself stuck in a state that you couldn't win, which is a thing that happened a lot back in that day. Now, where this becomes important to our story about Humongous Games, besides them sharing an engine, is a little story. Now, before I start that story, let's look at this screen. There's a lot of verbs on screen that you use to interact with things, and this is an older game, so, recorded audio isn't really a thing now. Admittedly, these games have been remade, and I think there's even laser versions of these that had voice-acted dialogue, but all of the dialogue is text on screen. Now, Ron Gilbert tells a story about watching a 5-year-old, watching him play Monkey Island, not being able to read, so he doesn't understand anything that's going on, but he is having a blast, clicking on things, and just trying this on that, and he's like, oh, if I do this, it opens the door, and just poking around. He's like, oh, if I click this set of letters and then the door opens. That must be the door opening thing. From this, Ron Gilbert decided that there needed to be point-and-click adventure games for kids. Kids weren't stupid. They just didn't have the same tool set that older kids and adults had to play and interact with games. So there was a market for creating something for them that wouldn't insult their intelligence. And I get that. I was a kid at the time, and I couldn't read. When I was that young a kid when I was playing these games. Right around when Humongous had initially started, and navigating a UI, I have specific memories of not being able to play Pokemon the card game and Mario Party 3 because I could not read well enough to navigate the menus, and we had to go and take it back to Blockbuster because I was too young to play them because of that. So I can, looking back on that, that is a thing where it's just I don't have the mechanics for this. So all that out of the way, we have our two founders, Ron Gilbert and Shelley Day, leaving LucasArts to found... Here we go, here we are. 1992, Humongous Entertainment begins. And with that, they put out their first game.
Hi, I'm Putt Putt. Come join me on my adventure. I'm ready to go.
Look at that not creepy baby song. That's a charming song.
I think I'll turn on my radio.
Good morning, Cartown! Wake up, all you swamp buggies and funny cars, because today is the Cartown Pet Parade. Drive on down to the Cartown Fountain with your pet, and Smokey the Fire Engine will sign you up so you can march in the parade. Don't be a crankcase, get in gear and join the fun.
That sounds great. I wish I had a pet. Maybe I'll go downtown and talk to Smokey. I better get ready.
Humble beginnings. Putt Putt joins the parade, released on MS-DOS, and my notes say 1992, but the screen says 1993, so somewhere in there. Game release dates back in the day were real all over the place. Running on our friend the Scum engine. It would go on to sell over hundreds of thousands of copies. And interestingly enough, actually, Putt Putt, this little purple car, was a character Shelley Day had made up for her son as a bedtime story, which I thought was really cool. Now, Putt Putt is a point-and-click adventure game that has a goal to join the Car Town Parade. And to do this, we got to do three things. We got to get a car wash, we got to get a balloon, and we got to get a pet. It's really simple. They put it out at the top. Again, this is for children. We got to be, here's this, here's this, here's this. And to do this, you're going to have to point and click your way around Car Town, collecting items, earning money by delivering groceries and mowing lawns, and solving really simple puzzles, because this game is for really young children. But people will even state in situations of like, hey, this is a problem. I have the thing to solve this, or, oh, I don't have the thing to solve this yet. And it'll kind of fit it in there. And this is all voice acted, obviously. Like I said, kids can't read very well, so that kind of goes into it. And playing into that, into our whole can't read thing, if you click on text, Putt Putt will read it to you.
It says parade today. It says Car Town Toys. It says Car Town Car Wash. It says welcome. It says Baldini's Grocery Store. It says free bird seed.
I don't know how Car Town's economy works.
It says two Putt Putts. That's me.
So, like, when you're a kid and you can't understand those things, and you have to remember, like, we're in the early 90s where, like, voice acting in games, especially in, like, PC, like, isn't really around a lot, or it's not always, you're not always going to get it in box. But here, because it's part of the design philosophy that made it, it's part and parcel with the game itself. And kind of also going into that, one of the core tenets of Humongous Games and Humongous Entertainment, besides this whole reading thing, which we'll see in some other games, is there are just things to click on every screen that don't do anything, and they're just fun. They play a little fun animation, it'll play a funny sound, like, there's just poking around, because kids, like, especially like of that, like, Monkey Island thing, like, their goal in a game isn't the same as yours. Yours is like, I gotta solve the problems and move forward. They're just having fun and, like, clicking on stuff, and, like, a cool animation to them is reward enough for exploring around. And Humongous is, with, like, the entire way through their catalog, is great at that, and in a related note of, like, little, like, mini games that don't have a bearing on anything, that are just fun to poke around, that I have memories of poking around for hours with. So, like, here's a little example I put together of you visit the toy store. So just, like, none of it, you know, literally none of this has any bearing on the game itself. It's just
So this
fun
is
to
where
click
I
on.
left my magnet.
And then there's one little thing of the magnet that you collect for a puzzle. So then, like, here's like a little, like, pachinko, like, marble game that you can just, like, make like little patterns or pictures and watch little marbles go down. It's like, this has no bearing on anything. You don't get anything. There's no, like, achievements or, like, little, it's like, it's just fun. And this
I want to tell a riddle.
was really charming to me.
I
I'll
want
let it play a little
to.
bit.
My turn.
No, me first.
Well, somebody's got to be first. Who's it gonna be?
Okay, listen very carefully. What's black and white and has 16 wheels?
Whoa, that's a hard one. Beats me.
Black and white and 16 wheels. How about a zebra on roller skates?
Hey, I'd like to find a zebra like that and chase it.
Okay, how about this? What's a room no one can go into?
Gosh, I give up.
I know a room no one can go into. A mushroom.
What a quack up.
So, like, what blew me away when I was going back to get footage and, like, play through the games again for research is, like, I was messing around with that for, like, 30 minutes before I turned the camera on, and I never got dialogue to repeat, and with every startup of joke and ending, you can click on one of the four characters, and the dialogue's completely different. And for, like, all of that to just be in a kid's game that has no bearing on the plot that you can just miss entirely, or you can just find and, like, futz around with for ages, or, like, I'm gonna go back and check that out. Like, that's awesome. And these games are chock full of, like, weird little charming moments that you just kind of find on your own and futz around with. And, you know, they might not be as entertaining and charming to you as an adult where you're very, like, normally goal focused, but like for a kid that's amazing. And you know, like I said, like this whole thing of like these guys talking, like they're really charmingly voice acted. Like the jokes are like, you know, it's your joke book jokes, but like they do it funny and it's charming. Like I just was like really like it brightened my day going through that. So that's kind of our start. That's Putt Putt. Like I said, it sold really well. Like it was very clearly like Humongous Entertainment knew what they were doing, and they followed it up with this game that's a little bit lesser known.
Good night, Kayla.
Good night, Dad. Tomorrow's my birthday, and Mom and Dad did have a big surprise for me. Good night, Fatty Bear. You be good. I love you, Fatty Bear.
There's a lot of work to do before Kayla wakes up. I want to make her a big, beautiful birthday cake. Oh, will she ever be surprised?
So this is Fatty Bear's birthday surprise, released sometime in 1993 for MS-DOS. Now, Fatty Bear's kind of the forgotten, I guess I could say son. It's kind of the forgotten mascot of Humongous. We're going to meet a lot of other characters, and they show up in a lot of games. Like, they have multiple games. Fatty Bear only really gets this one and, like, some minigame collections that aren't really as finely remembered or known about. So it's kind of interesting a little bit to me. But he does kind of become a running joke in other Humongous games. You'll see him show up a lot just as like a reference and like a little background element or like a joke or something. And we might even run into him later in the panel via that. So Fatty Bear's Adventure sees you as this teddy bear come to life Fatty Bear wandering around a house gathering ingredients to bake a birthday cake for your girl for her birthday. And also involves a puppy that gets out and you have to go track him down as well. It's a little darker than Putt Putt, but I think it's the same sort of difficulty level. It's got that, like, here's your goal at the top, but it's still got that whole, you can kind of click on things and futz around, and it does the same thing as Putt Putt, that if you click on words, he'll read them. Now, I wanted to show off a little bit more as we're kind of getting into more Humongous games of that whole futzing around. So, like, there's a cabbage head in the bedroom that you can just futz around with. So here's me just kind of playing around with it. Again, no bearing on anything, just sort of like a fun little time to put together.
Golly, howdy do.
Or you can go bowling outside because there's bowling or something. Blow the pins up. Or look through the telescope.
Well, if it isn't my little friend Putt Putt.
Hey, wait a minute. We're getting ahead of schedule.
I wonder what Putt Putt's doing on the moon.
I guess we'll have to wait for that one. There's also a piano that has some songs already in it, and you can change the sound on it. But you can also put in custom songs by putting notes in, so I felt I'd have a good time with it. I'm glad somebody got that. I was so proud of myself. And at the end of the game, when you make a cake, you can actually decorate it yourself. So I saw this actually as an image on Steam when I was thinking, I'm like, I should do something with it. So I kind of futzed it because this was for an anime con. But yeah, like it's that same sort of ilk of here's your simple task. There's a lot of things to click on. Just kind of futz around. It's a good time. I kind of like Putt Putt a little bit more, but it's a good time. So we'll follow that up as we kind of saw foreshadowing with Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, also released in 1993 on MS-DOS, that sees Putt Putt after an accident at the fireworks factory getting launched into space and landing on the moon, where he then has to get parts and fuel to rebuild a rocket to go home. And he meets the American moonlander there who was left on the moon, because that's how space works, I guess, even though everybody's a car. It's more Putt Putt. It's similar things. He looks kind of the same. These beginning ones I definitely played as a kid, but like I want to save time for like the more legit stuff, and we're right around getting into legit stuff. So let's hop into the next one. Meet a new friend. Two new friends, really.
Thanks for getting the flowers, Sam.
Sure thing, Freddy.
They're wonderful. Gotta go, Sam.
Bye, Freddy. Whoa!
Yes, here we are. Our good friend, Freddy Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds. Released in 1994 on PC. It's one of Humongous's longer-running series, I believe. It might be neck and neck with Putt Putt if we're not counting minigame collections. There was a lot of them, some even I have not played. And this actually gets to show off the Humongous Entertainment's new art direction. You can kind of see it's not the old sort of MS-DOS kind of pixel look. There's definitely pixels there, but we're going to get to that in a second. But Freddy Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds follows our friend Freddy Fish and her friend Luther trying to find Grandma's missing kelp seeds, following a trail of messages in bottles. Very similar to Putt Putt. We're going around, it's simple, we're solving puzzles, we meet funny, interesting characters, they talk at us. It's a little bit more complex. I'd say it's like a year or two older in complexity comparative to Putt Putt. A lot of the solutions involve like simple machines like pulleys and levers. That kind of became a running joke with it. Or sometimes things like the Super Duper Duka Palooka Polygizmo, as we can see on screen, I guess. Which actually brings me to a really cool topic for Freddy Fish and future Humongous games, is that the original Putt Putt games and Fatty Bears, once you play the game and you beat it, that's the game. You can futz around with stuff. Going from Freddy Fish onward, the game is randomized to an extent every time. You can find things that don't involve your playthrough. The particular playthrough I did for research for this did not involve the Super Duper Duka Buka Polygizmo. This whole little section here that you're seeing on screen, that guy was there, the Ray was there, and I could talk to him, but there was no message in a bottle behind that net that I needed the thing for, so it was a cool thing I found, but it wasn't something I needed. So it kind of gives more reason to replay, that you can see things that you hadn't seen before, which I think is really neat. Now, as you saw from the intro, this game looks way different than Putt Putt and the Fatty Bear games we just saw, and there's a story to it. Here's Ron Gilbert talking about it at PAX Australia from a 2013 keynote
Now, if you look at
speech.
the screenshots for Putt Putt Joins the Parade, you notice that the art and graphics are very much in the same vein as Monkey Island, or just about any other game at the time. They're just built on pixels. Now, about halfway through the production of Freddy Fish, I went to this conference, and I saw a talk given by someone from another game company, and he was making games for kids. I don't remember the company or the game, but the guy giving the talk showed some of the art and how it was all hand-drawn on paper, and then it was scanned in like traditional film animation, and it was stunning. It had a completely different feel to it. It was still made of pixels, but these were sexy pixels. I had never seen a game do this before, not for kids or adults. Now, I sat in this talk, the stream of panic enveloped me. It's like what we were doing could not compare to this. In that one instant, everything we were doing seemed old and dated. And when I got back to the office, I gathered up all the artists, and I told them what I had seen, and I asked them if they thought we could do the same thing. Now, none of them had any classic training in animation, but they jumped on it. It's like we did a few tests, and they looked absolutely amazing. At this point, we scrapped all of the art in the game and completely started over. It's like we kept the design and the story and the script, but every piece of art was scrapped, from animation to backgrounds, and we completely started over. We wrote all new tools for dealing with the art and completely revamped our engine. The first 3 games we did sold well, but when Freddy Fish came out, it was a huge hit, and it really was our breakout game. It got great reviews, and the art and animation was really singled out. It was the game that put Humongous Entertainment on the map, and we became a company that was known for our art and animation. Now, if you were an artist in Seattle at the time, it really was the place you wanted to work. It's like we had the best of the best. And all of that because I went to a conference and I saw a game that scared the crap out of me.
So I just think that's interesting, of that kind of changeover in style to kind of what they would be known about, where it genuinely feels like you're playing a cartoon, like an old Saturday morning or whatever cartoon for kids, and I think that's really neat. But despite this art change, it's still the same whole Humongous games. There's a lot of things to click on to make stuff happen. There's little side mini games and stuff to futz around with. The heart is still there, even if it looks kind of different. Here's me just clicking around on some fish. Just constantly clicking and they land themselves in the head. I don't know. I was tickled by that, of just something. Weird things. I had to click on them a bunch like a kid would, and you find some crazy weird stuff like that. So for completeness sake, even though it's not really as well remembered or interesting, Humongous Entertainment made a series of 3 games in 1995 called the Junior Field Trip Adventure Series, following this blue bug, Buzzy, taking around various locations. They're very edutainment-y. It's little games to play or whatever, but like they're not where we're here. So I want to get in there as like they're a part of things. They still got some of that humongous charm, but not enough to talk about. So at this moment, we're going to take a little kind of sidestep in our game thing and kind of talk about Humongous's kind of path and future, because I've learned from past panels, don't put the sad stuff at the end, because then you're sad and everybody else is sad, but I feel like it's important for completeness' sake. So at this point in time and a little bit faster, Humongous Entertainment is doing gangbusters. They're selling really well. They're a smaller company than these other big like edutainment like freaking behemoths like Broderbund or the Learning Company. But they're kind of different. Again, they're trying to focus more on entertainment than edutainment, even though they're still being educational. But at the end of the day, they're kind of still separate, because as time goes on, the new technology they're utilizing isn't in families' homes. People aren't buying those new computers that have all the sound cards and the graphics cards and all to play their new games. And if they are, the kids aren't allowed on the computer usually. So their market's shrinking. But unlike the other two edutainment companies that are very clear, play Max Workshop in school, it's educational, which I did a lot, which is why I always go back to that one. They had a lot harder time breaking into that market because schools were like, this looks like a game and not like edutainment, even if it was very educational to play of like problem solving skills in that. So their games are getting very highly praised and they're doing pretty well, but they're not selling as much as they were compared to how much they're kind of costing now. And they need to get bought by a bigger company to survive. Now, Humongous Entertainment is still around today. This is actually their modern logo. It's not really purple anymore, but it's not really them anymore. Humongous Entertainment is merely a mask worn by a series of other corporations from 1996 onward. From GT Interactive in 1996 to later, they're the sort of initial one, and they're still humongous at that point. They're just like, we need to be eaten by a bigger fish to live, to have the money to make the things we're making. But it kind of goes on after that, especially when they get scooped up by Infogrames, which was later then bundled with Atari, and usually in later versions of these games, or certain versions, you'll see the Infogrames logo part of the intro process. But also in kind of a thing like that, Atari is also a mask worn by other corporations. If you see literally anything about Atari, like, it's coming back, there's literally no one that works at Atari that had anything to do with the original Atari. It's literally just hey, people that grew up in the 70s, do you like nostalgia? We're going to give it to you with none of the substance. So, nope, I want to go back. Sorry, I had an extra slide in here. I had another panel that's missing here clearly. But as it's going on, people are getting laid off. It's kind of losing its spirit and the kind of heart of what made them special. And you can kind of see that in a little bit of the later games, which we're not really going to talk about. And it's like, this isn't quite the same. But now we're out of the way. Let's get to the real meat of the presentation, the games. And we're about to talk about one of my favorite ones.
Fill your tank, save the zoo. Get in step, check your tires, save the zoo. And go get gas, save the zoo. Putt Putt, save the zoo. Putt Putt, save the zoo. Putt Putt, you've got to save the zoo. Putt Putt, 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 save the zoo.
Freaking hours. Anybody out there play Putt Putt Saves the Zoo? Am I alone here? Bummer. Okay, well, I guess my love's got to shine through for it. It means
probably somebody watching on the stream.
Oh, certainly, or later on. But like, I guess I get to share certain things with you that makes me really happy. Then, so here we are in 1995. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, and I'd say this really kicks off Humongous golden age. Like, every game we're gonna talk about, this is like amazing hit classic after amazing hit classic. That, like, again, I played the earlier ones, but like these stick with me so much. It's cool. We get Humongous's original hero Putt Putt coming back in this new art style, and it looks gorgeous. Like I said, it looks like you're playing a cartoon. Now, that was what the thing was for. So this game sees Putt Putt traveling on the newly opened Cartown Zoo. Well, I guess almost newly opened, because he's going there to visit, and a number of baby animals have gone missing right on the eve of the opening. So our other character, Outback Al, sends him out to go, again, solve some puzzles and save the baby animals who are trapped in various locations. And it's bright, it's fun, it's charming, it feels like you're playing a cartoon. There's like a fun little side quest to following that Humongous thing that has, I think, just changes a little bit with the ending, that you get a disposable camera that you can just take pictures of literally every character in the game. Has no bearing on anything, but it's like a little fun moment you get to have, and like that's neat that you get a little personalized like art, you know? And going back to that whole Humongous games of kids clicking around, that can be something positive for them and kind of gives it replay value. But before I talk about anything else about it, I have to play one really important thing about this game, and especially with you guys who have not heard it before, this is close to my heart.
We are the topiary creatures. We're very pleased to meet you. Senors and senoritas too. The animals we feature. You know would never eat you. We sing so very sweet to you. Welcome to the zoo. Zoo, zoo. With the kangaroos. Roos, roos. And the tigers too. Too, too. Welcome to the zoo, zoo, zoo. So show them self-play lions. Come in and see our clients. Do not beat the giant yaks. You'll learn about the lions in advertising tie-ins, and maybe learn some science back. Welcome to the zoo. Wipe off your windshield so you can the kangaroos, the elephant, the monkey, and the chimpanzee, and the tigers, canaries, the carries, the bears are all hairy, the cheetahs, cicadas, gorillas, and gators, the emu and the llama, very similar to the dromedary turtles and the tortoise and the dolphins and the tigers too. Mice, lice, bees, moose. Welcome to the zoo. Very creatures, we're very pleased to meet you. I haven't written this verse yet, but I will write it, and it will sound much better than when we had a wet, wet, wet. Welcome to the zoo, 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 with the kangaroos, roos, roos, and the tigers too, too, too. Welcome to the zoo, zoo, zoo.
Gosh, I love that song. And actually, fun fact, that that unfinished verse at the end is actually a joke, because the musician who sent in, he was sending in his temp track that he was still working on it, and that was all he had written at the time. He hadn't finished the third. He genuinely hadn't finished the third verse. And Humongous thought it was so funny, they made him keep it in the final version. And that musician actually worked on a couple of Humongous games. This guy.
Not so long ago, computer game music sounded so much like a touch-tone phone recital. The future of game music was largely born in an old Leander farmhouse by a rare sort of maverick, a fat maverick. Actually, a skinny fat maverick.
Howdy! Come on in! Welcome to El Rancho Gordo, home of Team Fat and the biggest name of music and multimedia, me!
Fat Man.
Come on.
Maybe you've never heard of George Alistair Sanger, known as the Fat Man. But if you play computer games, you've probably heard his music.
That there's the Wall of Fame. Someone else will tell you about that.
So yes, this is George Sanger, also known as the Fat Man, as a part of Team Fat, who was a musician who did music for video games at the time. And like they were kind of saying in the commercial, video game music is then, at that point, especially as we're moving to CD-ROM, is going from your little bleeps and bloops to actual recorded music. And this crazy countryman is writing music for video games, which I love. Not even just Humongous. He's worked on a lot. He's a cool guy to look up. He had done already work on some of the older Putt Putt games and the Freddy Fish games. And a lot of the, I guess I want to say from this point also, is that a lot of the songs, like the Zoo song that have lyrics and the background tracks, are like a real, like they're worth listening to. Like they're really fun tracks. And still showing off that sort of like fun clicking on stuff, like finding and discovery things, is this little moment you can find. That has no bearing on anything. So I'm just clicking on penguins. And it's like Putt Putt starts dancing, and then Peppa's dog like starts getting it, and it's a cool little thing you can find. Now my favorite thing about that it is one of 3 different tracks that can play there, and all 3 of them are bangers, and it's the best. And again, it's like, why would you put that much effort to write 3 different songs for this little thing that like no one could ever click on? And it's like, I kind of appreciate that. I understand it from a game design standpoint of like, why would you put your effort into things that people won't find? But like, it makes it more special for the people that do. I'd really like, the first song that played was like, that was really good. I'll leave and come back and get a fresh take of it. And then it was a different song. And I'm like, wow. And then I came back a third time to check it, to see how many. And there was another one. Like, that's awesome. And there's also, I kind of want to touch on this a second. There's a fun little Easter egg in that whole exploring in places that you don't need to be, that there's a moment where you're going down rapids, and you have to like click where you want to go before time runs out for him to pick a direction. And you go to this little like serene space that there is never anything in. There's no thing that helps you solve puzzles. There's nothing you can click on. It's just this nice little calm space.
Hot dog!
The opening chimes to do anything. I actually got to learn fun fact about that. There was a Kickstarter and stuff to remaster the music, which sadly got messed up in some legal stuff. But I learned from that the guy running it had asked the Fat Man. He was trying to get title track names because they didn't have them originally. These had never been released on an album, and he said the track one for this one was called "Honk Like a Car." Now, if you've ever seen Deliverance, that might be upsetting to you. But I just thought that was funny. We're moving on. We're not going to talk about it anymore today. We are going to talk about, oh gosh, I think my favorite game of all of these. No joke. I think from my costume, you'll understand that then. So let's get into it.
Deep in the bowels of an old power plant, a sinister plot is hatching. Ha ha! At last the time has come to hatch my sinister plot. This lever will activate my blackout generator and the world will be thrown into eternal night. Not so fast, Darkness! What? Pajama Man! That's right, Fiend, and I have some gadgets of my own. Take that! Ah! Not the Illuminator Mark V! Do you have anything to say before you're sucked into my portable bad guy containment unit?
I wish you'd pick up your socks once in a while.
Sure thing, Mom. You can consider that done.
Okay, Sam, you remember tonight's the night we go to sleep with the lights off.
Don't worry about me, Mom. I'm ready. And I can put on my Pajama Sam mask if I get scared.
That's good, dear. Good night, Sam.
Good night, Mom. There's no need to hide when it's dark outside. No need to hide when it's dark outside. I'm not scared. Darkness lives in my closet, but that's okay. I'm not scared. Okay, I'm scared. I can't sleep with darkness hanging around in my closet. I'm gonna have to capture him. This is a job for Pajama Sam. Now, where's my Pajama Sam mask? I need that and my flashlight and my lunchbox. I'm sure that my stuff's in here somewhere.
Ah, yes. Released in 1996, we have Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside, with our hero, Pajama Sam, who I'm currently cosplaying. Yeah. I love this game so much. I have so many memories playing through it. So, of course, this game follows our hero, Pajama Sam, as he ventures into the land of darkness. Now, originally, you can see in his room, he declares that he needs to get his mask, his lunchbox, and his flashlight. So when you go, you find those, you journey into your closet into the land of darkness. See, he's got to be like Pajama Man, so he can go attack darkness. So you go, okay, there we go. There's the game. He's got his stuff. He's in the land of darkness. Bim, bam, boom, he's done. Because then it helps him no longer be afraid of darkness, because he'll be stuck in a lunchbox. Well, fortunately, on arrival, Sam loses all of his stuff in customs. And the adventure is then going around the land of darkness, chatting to kooky characters, solving weird puzzles to get all your stuff back. Then you can go finally capture darkness. Now, Pajama Sam is definitely for a somewhat older audience. We're still talking about kids here. We're not talking about teens yet. But it definitely goes a little bit more intense and complicated than our Putt Putts and our Freddy Fishes has been so far. Everything's a lot darker. The humor is a lot more like punny, or maybe, I don't want to say more adult, but I'm going to say maybe more advanced. Not like in like the, you gotta have a big brain to know Rick and Morty, but like, it's not just like the, oh, that you told a funny knock-knock joke. Like there's wordplay involved. I guess higher brow is the way I could put it. The puzzle's a little bit more complicated, multi-leveled, again, still for children. And I think it's one of the first ones we've talked about that as an adult, it's worth checking out, even if you had never done it before. I think they're a really fun and charming time. Now, eagle-eyed among you might have noticed, hey, there's a sock, and Mom said we had to go collect our socks, so let's go pick that one up.
Another sock.
Oh gosh, Mom's gonna be so proud of us. Now those sock locations are randomized every game, and I've played this game dozens of times, and I think I've collected all the socks, like, I don't even know how many. Not a lot. Very few. It's a real fun little extra added thing that I think messes with the ending a little bit. So, now to get all your stuff back, you have to interact with a lot of sort of strange characters around this world of darkness. They're not just people. A lot of them are objects. You have little Otto the boat on the left, who is a wooden sailboat who thinks wood sinks. So you have to get a plank of wood and put it to water to show him he can float. And the old minecart king, whose wheels are rusted. So they kind of help you move about two of the major areas of the Land of Darkness. But a lot of these are very kooky, and one of these kooky characters you can run across is a wishing well. There's a favorite pun of mine, or a little exchange.
My lunchbox!
Why call it that when you can't eat it?
I beg your pardon?
Well, it seems very silly to call it a lunchbox when you wouldn't dream of having it for lunch.
But your lunch goes in it.
Your lunch goes in you, does it not? Perhaps you would like me to call you Lunchbox as well.
I'm not a box.
Ah, too true.
And the game is just like full of these like goofy little moments. And I think I have an extra minute here. I had it in here originally and I took it out. But Pajama Sam is great for it being randomized every time where your mask, flashlight, and lunchbox can be. There's a room in Darkness's house where there's just a bunch of furniture dancing, and as soon as you enter, they all stop. And I don't know if they're like different weights for how certain ones come out, and sometimes your mask will be in there and you have to solve a puzzle, but a lot of the times it's just not there. So there's just this weird room that acts weirdly that as a kid I'm like, this is really spooky. What's going on? This room has no purpose. What's up with this furniture? And it spooked me as a kid. So Pajama Sam is very worth your time. Like, go back, check it out. It's really fun. It's really charming. Played a couple times. A lot of good fun music. If we've got time, there's one last one I'm going to talk about later. But we need to move on. So, Freddy Fish 2, The Case of the Haunted Schoolhouse. Freddy Fish is back in 1996. There is a ghost haunting the schoolhouse and stealing kids' toys for whatever reason. So Freddy needs to build a trap from different parts to capture.
These are the things we need to find to trap the ghost. We'll still need to get a life preserver, a trident, a mock stock Mibblebach Whopper Bopper, a cork, and a pulley to make our trap.
So again, all of those things are randomized. You could need, like a rope or something, or like there's always, or like a pipe. And there'll be different places and different things. So, I mean, similar to the last game. You go around, there's a bunch of interesting characters to talk to, you're solving puzzles, you're befriending people, you're bringing them items they need, and then they'll usually get you your trap piece or some other thing to get the things that you need. So, we're getting pretty standard now and all that fun stuff. But I think something that's interesting in this one of these characters we can talk to actually will show a fact that I think is really important about Freddy Fish, especially for this era.
What's this? Hey, you giving me the business?
Your business card, sir.
Well, so it is. You boys will be wanting the combination to the trophy case.
Excuse me, sir, but I'm not a boy. I'm a girl.
Hey, that's a coincidence. So's Mrs. Triplefin.
That always gives me a laugh.
Thanks for the combination, Mr. Triplefin.
So I think at that time, and a lot of people don't know that Freddy's a girl. And if my article was proper about it, this wasn't actually set in the first game, but only the second game where one of the major writers came in who was a woman and just said, Freddy's a girl. And they had to change all the pronouns. But I think that's really neat. It gave them, like, there was some other things, if my article was to be trusted, of, like, them doing game testing, and it was, like, when boys found out, they're like, cool, whatever, but when girls found out, like, they got more into it. They were like, oh, this person's, like, this fish is like me, You didn't see a lot of female representation in video games, especially when they were just sort of, like sedate, I guess. Like, you can have your big heroes, your Lara Crofts and all that, and I think those are important, but I think it's also important to just have these, like, simple ones, And I think that's really good. Humongous in general, I think, is, for its era, is good about representation in a way that doesn't feel forced. When especially, like, the 90s was really known in a lot of, like, cartoons and stuff to be, like, the Rainbow Squad, where it's I always go back to the joke in Community where the dean comes in, he's like, there's one of each of you. And Humongous games never feel like that. We have Freddy being a girl, and just, it's never important to the character, just is a thing that is, I mean, a lot of people I didn't know for a while when I was a kid. The family in Fatty Bear being African American, I think, is cool. There's going to be another series we're going to talk about shortly that I think is looking back on it, was incredibly good for representation in a way I didn't even notice at the time, and I really dig it for that. That's what's up with that. So we're gonna quick talk about. I don't know if this one got edited. Oh, we have an intro. Okay, this one's a little bit more edutainment-y, but I liked the animation. So yeah, this one's.
Hello there.
How are you?
It's great to see you here. I'm Ben
Becky
Brightly. Let's start off with a cheer.
Yay!
We'll face challenges together. Think big and you will see. You can do amazing things just like Ben and me. We stretch and spin, jump and down, turn colors, fly and run. Your mind will grow with all you know and fill your brain with fun.
And fill your brain with fun.
So come along to our house where big adventure starts. Reach for the stars and you'll be a superstar of smarts. Big thinkers, first grade.
So I'm just touching on this for a moment. This is, again, our more edutainment-y thing. Like, they're very clearly, like, play these minigames to teach these skills. I think this is Humongous trying to go more for getting these games in schools. It literally says kindergarten, first grade, and they made a second grade one that never got finished. At least they had planned to. And they're very kind of... They use a lot of the same sort of skeletons, so they could, I guess, save money on them. They're cute. There's cute animation, but it's very clearly... It's not like a full point-and-click game. It's a go here, play this minigame, collect these things. It's very, very specifically for children. Okay, cool. With that out of the way, let's talk about probably my second favorite series from Humongous, which is another one that I think is worth going back to as an adult.
Got milk? Not anymore. Everything is going just as I planned. Soon the entire world will be without dairy milk. No butter on toast, no ice cream, no cheddar cheese, and nothing but dry cereal. Nothing can stop me now.
My friend is lactose intolerant, so this is actually really funny for that. That he would be a villain. He'd be this villain. Oh, let's meet our starring hero, who actually gets foreshadowed in Freddy Fish 2.
Somewhere over the Mediterranean Sea.
Would you like our Italian entree, sir?
No thanks. It gives me hives.
Our vegetarian dinner, then?
Nope, gives me the vapors.
Then may I recommend the Greek plate? It's delicious.
All right, if you insist.
Enjoy. It's good to see you, Agent Fox.
Ah, Monkey Penny. Now this is a real TV dinner.
There you go.
Right. Yesterday, our spy operatives discovered the factories and offices of Amalgamated Moo Juice Incorporated abandoned and drained of milk. Soon, the entire world's remaining milk reserves will be depleted.
The idea of eating dry breakfast cereal is pretty hard to swallow.
Yes, it is. Here's the only clue we have.
Feta
It's the 90s.
cheese. A low grade, too.
Spy operatives took that picture in the office of Mr. Howard Hugh Heifer Utterly III.
President and
There's a joke coming up I
CEO of
love.
Amalgamated Moo Juice Incorporated.
Exactly. We presume he has valuable information on the dairy crisis. The only available picture of him is hidden in your mashed potatoes. Finding Utterly is your top priority.
He shouldn't be hard to spot.
The feta cheese samples
love
found in
that the last
Utterly's
picture's
office
just a
have been
picture of
traced
his
back to the
butt.
island of Acidophilus. Your plane will be flying over the island any minute now. I've already set up the mobile command center where you'll rendezvous with me and later on with Quack. The entrance code is in your fortune cookie. Any questions?
No, I'm on my way.
Good. Monkey Penny, out.
Here we are in 1997 with Spy Fox in Dry Cereal. Now, if the intro didn't kind of give it all away already, it's very much a send up to like your 007s or your Get Smarts of like your spy thriller, but you know, kind of comedic. There's a lot of like wordplay, repartee, puns. Like, you already kind of got a glimpse of the intro, and it's throughout the entire game, which I love. Now, you kind of also got from that is Spy Fox skews definitely older. Like, now we're starting to reach into like above 10 and teens, and again, like, I think adults would have a good time even if they hadn't played these games as a kid. There's a lot, like, there is so much wordplay and puns, and I love it. Again, that joke's on a more kind of higher complex level. The way you interact with characters is a lot different and more different ways. Finally, we've reached a game where our goal isn't so cut and dry, where it's like, go find these things and then that's the game. It's like, it's constantly moving and changing, and because each game is randomized, how you're doing that is different, where you're going is different, and I think it's really cool that it's they kind of grew with it. But it is still the same Humongous. You click on things, funny things happen.
Wanna see my tattoo?
So we click on this bird and we see his tattoo. But what if we just keep clicking on him?
Your mother must be so proud.
I've sped it up.
Wanna see my tattoo?
I love that. I'm like, that needs to be in the panel. It's so
Hey, wanna see my
good.
tattoo?
Okay, we're gonna keep moving. So, like I was kind of saying, is it skews a little bit older in the way you interact with things. So, I think my next one. So part of the systems of the game is collecting gadgets. So you have a machine of gadgets, you'll get it. I sadly have forgotten the duck's name, but he'll explain what it does. So you'll just have like a little thing, but you can only hold a limited number. And also when you talk to certain characters, they'll tell you about something, and you'll have in your little notebook, it'll have a little like bubble of their head that then you can talk about that to other people to like, oh, I couldn't get on this party boat. I should ask around about that. So in this case, you take that information that there's this party boat that you need an invitation to get into, and you go to a nearby shopkeep, and you go, hey, here's the word bubble. I talked to this guy about it. What's up? Do you have an invitation? Do you know about this boat party? And he's like very proud of it, and he gets it out. So then you distract him, and you use your spy gadget, which is this copy putty. So you distract him, and you copy the seal, and then you take that back to their little otter or whatever the heck he is, this weasel, and you can get on the boat. And it's not as simple as our normal just click on, use item. Now we have to go, here's a gadget that I can only carry so many of, that is a specific use, and this idea that I need to go to this character to use this, I need to ask this character about this thing. We're getting more complex. Spy Fox isn't reading things we're clicking on, but it's still very much of that Humongous Games oeuvre, which I think is really neat. Now, before I move on from Spy Fox, there was something really interesting. I learned about this a number of years ago that, I super did not know at the time, and it broke my brain, is that there is an entire other dub and script for this game made in Great Britain. Still in English, why would you redub it? But it's all redubbed, and it's the weirdest freaking thing.
Somewhere over the Mediterranean Sea.
Would you like our Italian entree, sir?
No, thanks. It gives me hives.
Our vegetarian dinner, then?
No, gives me the vapors.
Then, may I recommend the Greek plate? It's delicious.
All right, if you insist.
You want to see my tattoo?
Welcome to the Trinket Emporium.
I love that guy saying.
Hello, sweetheart. Welcome to the cantina. I'm Bear. If there's any...
Greetings. Interested in a little game of Go? Place your trinkets on the table, and we'll get started.
I waste so many hours of my life playing Go Fish with this pig for trinkets. And it's just the weirdest thing of why would you redub this? Why would you spend all the money to redub this and write a new script, no less, for it? Now, interesting enough, if you get this on Steam, you can actually play this version by going into the Steam options and setting it to the beta version. You might need to do some Googling about it. That's how I got this footage, which is really interesting. So, Spy Fox is very much worth your time. Now, to continue let me cover all my bases, Humongous also made 6 or 7 Blues Clues games from 1998 to 2000. I've never played these. I've never seen them. By the looks of it on YouTube, I was going to capture footage, but then I was just like, what do I even show? Because it's just an episode of... It's pretty much you're playing through an episode of Blues Clues, but what is his name? Steve? Yeah. Was the main one? Yep. It's just him... I guess he's always green screened in, but he looks like that era PC game screen, green screen in, and it looks really weird. But it seemed cute and harmless enough for Blues Clues people. So, like I said, just wanted to check all my boxes. So we move on to the last major series of Humongous for today. Which again, I have so many hours into. Backyard Sports series, or at least what we're going to be talking about from 1997 to 1999, numbering among backyard baseball, backyard soccer, and backyard football. And after that, for reasons we'll cover shortly, things start getting weird and humongous and not great, but I'll try to be quick about that part. So these were games for children, obviously, for sports, because back then you could sell different versions of sports games and people would buy them, and I played the heck out of these. But what makes these really worth your while, because they're fun to play, whatever, mechanically, is the charm of the characters, because every time you would play, you had this entire colorful cast of kids to pick on your team, and that's kind of what really gave it its character and its flavor, its reason to go back to, its charm. Because you'd follow these kids from baseball to soccer to football and all that. They weren't just nobodies. They each had their own personalities and voice and like theme music, and they were they really kind of made me love playing it. Here's a little taste of sorry, I need to get my ordering right. So like here's a little clip. Like all the games have like a little area where you can look at like baseball cards of your characters, and you can just click on them and they'll just talk.
Kids call me Mad Dog. Whatever. I don't know what to say. What do you want to know? Why are you asking?
Dude, one time I went to this rad rock and roll concert at my school. There was this band of old guys there, probably at least high school age, and they jammed for about 10 minutes or an hour or so, and I was like, yeah, you guys rock! And then one of the dudes broke a string on this crazy bend. Wah! But the dude kept on playing. It was awesome.
Are you talking to me?
He's the fastest kid.
Huh? One time I was at school, and I was going to class, and I was going through a door, but I forgot to open it, so I smashed right into it and broke it with my head. I don't know why I did that. I'm funny that way.
My name's Kenny Kawaguchi, and my legs don't work, but I can get around pretty well in this wheelchair, and I can play sports really well.
He's the best pitcher in the game.
One time, I went to a game real early so I could watch the team taking batting practice and maybe score a few balls, so I was hanging out over along the third base line waiting for some right-handed batter to pull one into the stands. But my friend Dorothy, who you haven't met yet because she isn't here because she can't play baseball, but she likes to watch, although she spends most of her time talking, I can't get a word in edgewise when she's talking. So anyway, she was talking to me, so I wasn't paying attention, and so this right-handed hitter pulls one right towards us. But I'm not looking because I'm looking at Dorothy, and she starts screaming and stuff like, the ball's gonna hit us, so I cover my head. And I swear that ball landed no more than 5 feet away, and Dorothy got it on the first bounce, and boy was I ashamed of her for making me miss it. True story.
And then this kid,
béisbol más que la
Pablo
tarea
Sanchez,
de la
speaks only
escuela.
Spanish.
Vamos a jugar. Soy Pablo. ¿Quieres jugar?
Unless
Okay,
you
don't tell the other
shift
kids,
click
but
him.
I speak English. I learned Spanish in school.
When the internet happened and I could Google games that I like and I learned about that, it blew my mind that you can, in every single game, you can shift click Pablo Sanchez and he speaks in English, and it boggled my mind as a child. And also, he's literally in every game, he's the best player, bar none. His stats are always the best. But like, that's what I love. Like, some of these kids are just bad. They're not good at baseball or any of the sports, but they're just like charming. We met Akban Khan, who's a pretty good batter, and then he has a little brother whose name I think it's Amir Khan. But like, freaking like Arab Middle Eastern thing. And it's just, I never thought anything of it. I thought it was just like a neat little thing. And there's like the Weber twins, and there's like Vinny Del Vecchio and his little sister, that they're weird like 50s kids, and like they're all different. They're like, that's what was the real the charm and what I loved about these games. So let's see.
Hello,
an intro to
baseball
a game to mirror
enthusiasts.
announcers.
It's time for another adventurous BBL season of unforgettable plays. Sunny Day here, along with Vinny the Gooch, welcoming you, friends of the feather, to another edition of Baseball Madness.
This afternoon will feature a fierce competition between the Super Duper Hornets and the Humongous Melonheads. Folks,
I
when the
always play the
sun gets
Humongous
too hot for you, don't forget about the refreshments.
Okay, we're
at
running out of time
Laughing
already, but
Lucy's
like
Lemonade
they're
Stand.
talking over
She's
like the
running a
entire game,
special
and there's all this
today.
back and forth
2
between
for
your
a
players in the
dollar.
field and who's
That's
batting
two
and who's
of
pitching, and
anything
it's
behind
just
the
there's nothing like it. Now the series starts changing around backyard football, where there's like kid versions of popular stars of the day, and then that just starts infecting the entire series, and then that's just all it became. Like, that's why you can find these games on like other consoles besides PC, and like those aren't don't play those aren't the same. So with all of that done, hey, we've passed our major ones. There's still cool stuff to play if you've played those or you want to check those on the other ones. There's at least 2 more Putt Putt games that we're checking out. There's Pajama Sands 2 and 3, they're great. There's a couple other Freddy Fish games. There's the other 2 Spy Fox games. They're cool, they're worth your time. Now, where Humongous is now is, like I said, they're not really Humongous anymore, but they're finally in the hands of somebody treating them correctly. So a company called Tomo has them, oddly enough known for publishing the new Bubsy games for some reason, I don't know, has actually been treating them pretty well. They clean up the Humongous website and have working with Night Dive Studio, who've released pretty much their entire catalog, except the Backyard Sports one and the Blue's Clues ones because of copyright reasons, on Steam for pretty well. I've already bought them all in a Humble Bundle ages ago. But they're good solid ports and they're worth the cost, so I would say go check them out. They're good times. So before I leave, I want to play one last video from Pajama Sam that I love of one of the ways that you can get your mask is a carrot will have it. Before he gives it to you, he's a freedom fighter and he wants you to free the other carrots from the fridge in Darkness's house. So when you do this, this happens. So everything in Darkness's kitchen sings when you click it.
I can't let you in, for you might liberate the carrots that I'm holding for the huge green salad.
He's the only one that sings kind of differently than the other ones do. Put the carrot on.
Please, won't you open the door since I have another victim?
What? I surrender, not ever. Oh wait, now I see. You now have captured that troublesome carrot eater guy. I'll open up my door so you can put that rogue inside my drawer.
Oh no, our orange leader was caught.
Our fight for our freedom for us. We are diminished.
Completely finished.
Hey guys, don't you see he's with me and you're free to go.
Free!
Yes, free!
Free!
Uh-huh.
Free! Free!
Free!
Free!
Yeah.
Free!
Yeah.
Free!
Sure.
Free!
Whoopee!
He's a freedom fighter, man.
I almost forgot this, but you've earned it. You have taken the tide and turned it.
Fight the power,
You may
people.
take this mask and wear it. A gift of gratitude from this carrot.
Hooray! I finally have my mask. 2 more things and I finish my task.
Oh, he probably is. And with that, I bid you a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching.